All right, great. So welcome to NUMA. I know we have plenty of returning faces tonight, which is super great to see. So happy to have people returning to NUMA. And we also have plenty of new faces. So glad to see so many of our new members tonight. Great, so a little intro to NUMA. What we do, we have employer panels, so you can gain insight on our different marketing professions and our network, really build your connections within the Boston community and beyond. We have interactive workshops, so these are more bringing in an expert to talk about a specific skill and kind of give you a background in that particular skill. We have member exclusive events, so we'll talk a little bit about official membership in a few minutes. And those allow you to participate in a slightly more like selective things. So we attend prestigious conferences, our Harvard Women in Business Conference, for example, and we have team building events. Things like our conferences have a high price if you were to go individually. Plenty of our conferences cost $50 or $80 per ticket, but if you go as an official NUMA member, they're free. So that is a great aspect of becoming an official member and getting those exclusive benefits. And then we also participate in community service activities, and we have plenty of those every semester. So keep an eye out for those coming up. Our weekly meeting times are typically Wednesdays from 7 to 8 p.m. We'll be having a couple remote panels this semester. Clearly, we have one for our first meeting. And then going forward, we plan to have all of our meetings streamed to Zoom, so that if you can't make it in person, you can access remotely. So just keep an eye out. We'll be having a couple meetings that are in different rooms on campus. There's like high room demand, so we had to schedule spaces for slightly different classrooms. So just keep an eye out. And then we kind of already covered this, our types of weekly meetings. We've got our headliners, so that's a one-person meeting, or we bring in one person who has a really interesting role. We have a panel with 3 to 5 speakers. Then we have the workshops, which we mentioned earlier. We've got 3 kinds of programming. We have our weekly meetings. We have NUMA Consulting, which is what tonight's all about, which is our student marketing consultancy. And then we have NUMA Network, which is our mentorship program. Also, anyone who's interested in applying for NUMA Consulting or any of these programs, please scan this QR code in the corner. Benefits to being an official NUMA member. A general member can attend all of our meetings and all of our community service events. But an official member gets all of those benefits that you see on the side. So you can come to our weekly meetings and community service events, as I mentioned, on the general member side, but you also get your name on our website. So employers can see that you're an official member and actually participating in this club. You have membership, you have access to membership only events, which I touched on a bit earlier. You receive our members only email, which has jobs, different opportunities that are specifically tailored towards our members. You can apply for NUMA Consulting, which is the program that we're going to be talking about tonight. And then you have free admission to all of our conferences and events, and you can also participate in our mentorship program. For a semester, it costs $20 to become an official dues paying member, and you would Venmo those to our VP of Finance. I'll send those details in the chat. And or we have it here. So membership dues, 20 for the semester, 35 for a year, so a bit of a discount. You can pay to Oscar, and then you can include your full name, Husky email, and NUMA membership dues. Fantastic. I mustn't hear it. And then now we have NUMA Network. So we're going to have Nick talk about what our mentorship program is, NUMA Network.
Hi, everyone. Just wanted to give a quick shout out to NUMA Network before we get started with our meeting. I think we just lost the slide for a sec, but I can read off from here. So our general mission statement with NUMA Network is that it's NUMA's mission to foster a greater sense of community among our members and encourage engagement with our various events. All official members, which means if you're a dues paying member, will be assigned a mentor with whom they can connect. And collectively, we will also host office hours, workshops, and other things like that. So essentially, if you're like a freshman coming in and you want to get some advice on just college in general, what classes to take, stuff like that, or if you're a sophomore looking to go on co-op for the first time and you want some advice with that, we really specialize in that sort of stuff, just helping you set up to succeed in college and for your career in general. And it's sort of going to be, you get out of it what you put in. So everyone who's a dues pay member will be, oh, sorry, my phone is going off right now. So everyone who is a dues pay member will be assigned to a mentor, and then you can choose to engage with that mentor however you want. So you could not reach out to them the whole semester, or you could be sending them questions every day. They will always set aside a dedicated amount of office hours where you can use them as a resource for any sort of advice that you want. And yeah, it's just a great opportunity to get more involved in the club. And right there, you can scan the QR code and go on our website, go to our Linktree and register.
Yep, and just a quick note, this QR code takes you to our Linktree, which has a lot of great information. So you can apply for NUMA consulting, which we'll talk about a little bit at the end. You can apply for NUMA network, which I saw someone in the chat said that the form is private. We will edit that and I'll send a note in the chat so that you can fill that out later. And then you can also join our Slack, which I highly recommend. I'll also send an invite link. We send a lot of our timely information there. You'll get weekly meeting reminders on top of our emails. So really great opportunity to be in our Slack channel and all of these things. Great. So without further ado, we can get into the panel. And Emil, you can take it from here.
Sounds great. Thank you, Rachel. Do you want to go to the next slide, Rachel, really quick?
Yeah, sure. Quick note. Yeah, next meeting is on the 20th. I forgot the slide is here. Next meeting is on the 22nd at West Village G. So that's our sports marketing panel. See you guys next week as well.
We're so excited to have an in-person panel finally. It's been so long. But we'll start off with the virtual panel. So welcome to, this is a NUMAC, which is NUMA Consulting / Startup panel, which we will be talking about both NUMA Consulting, as well as we will be talking about startup and startup marketing. So introduction to our panelists. So first off, we have Amy. She's the CEO of SparkSnacks. We have Henry, the founder and CEO of Vlogtree. So what I'd like to first do is, I just said your names, but if you can introduce yourselves, say where you're from, and give us a little bit of an educational background and also a fun fact, if you guys could.
I'll go first. I'm just the first on the slide. But yeah, hi everybody. My name is Amy. I'm super excited to be here. I'm the founder of SparkSnacks, which is a food company that is aimed to help people with dietary restrictions feel more included in the food industry. And a little bit about me. I'm originally from Chicago. I graduated Northeastern in 2017 and then went straight to grad school where I'm currently in Ohio. But I studied food science here, and a fun fact about me is that whales are my favorite animal.
Hi everyone, so I'm Henry, the founder of Vlogtree. Vlogtree is a e-commerce company focused on sustainability. Our goal is really to create greater access to sustainable products and eco-friendly products for consumers, just making those viable alternatives just that much more convenient for people. I started Vlogtree as I was working on my MBA at Northeastern. I graduated in 2020 and went sort of straight into working on Vlogtree full time. Fun fact about myself. So the environment's obviously hugely important to me, and I spent my summers growing up back in the UK. I'm from all over the place, but my family's from the UK, and I spent my summers back there on a narrowboat. So growing up basically on a boat on the canals in the UK, out in the middle of nowhere. So that's my fun fact.
Awesome. Thank you guys for the introductions. We have a really good panel for you guys. So let's get started. So first, we'll start off with like your startup, right? So can you guys briefly tell us a little about what your startup is about? What does it do? You touched both upon sustainability. Talk about what is its mission? What's your kind of your goals going in with your company? And we can just do the same order. We can go Amy, then Henry.
So like I said, my company is called SparkSnacks, and we are a little food company, but what we do is we mindfully innovate in order to offer people access to inclusive snacks, meaning snacks that aren't necessarily causing people with dietary restrictions, to roll their eyes at the grocery store. So people with allergies, food sensitivities, food intolerances have a seat at the table with our products. And so that's really what I care about and what I hope to do in the food industry, because I just graduated from Ohio State with a food science degree. And a lot of people don't know what that is, but I'm really intrigued and excited to make a difference in the food industry, especially at a time when like inclusivity is really important. And so that is our mission. And I hope to continue to release different products, but our first product is a garbanzo bean nut butter. So it's made out of roasted garbanzo beans to give it a nutty flavor. It's called bonzo butter, and it is free of the top 14 food allergens, vegan and gluten-free. We have a website if you want to check it out, but it's kind of our flagship brand. And from there, I hope to really create more snacks that the majority of people can consume safely and that they're healthy as well.
So for me, I got going and I started Vlogtree really out of kind of a nagging itch that was kind of bothering me a little bit, where I was trying to make an effort to live more sustainably and reduce things like plastic waste in the house and so on, just throughout my life, you know, thinking about the impact that we make. And I was finding that it was really not that convenient to do so. And that I was sort of searching the internet, looking for this product or that product. And then I was ordering them from a variety of different places, and then they were being shipped in, you know, different ways. Some are not particularly sustainable ways. And I just sort of felt like there was a better way to do this. And I think that so many of us are very comfortable with shopping online, and, you know, we want that convenience, but we also are all very busy and we want it to be sort of easily accessible for us. So I started to examine that and research a lot of these amazing little companies that are, you know, create a product that's making a real difference. And I thought, what if we brought those together and create a marketplace for sustainable products where consumers could arrive, they could feel confident that the products there have been vetted, and they could conveniently shop for one thing and then find and discover something else. And for me, something that's so interesting is I don't view sustainability as a binary proposal. A lot of people, you know, feel like you're either all in or all out. And I don't think that's the case. I think a lot of people are on the journey. And maybe that comes down to simply, you know, carrying your own reusable water bottle with you. That's a massive step. Or something like switching to a shampoo bar. You know, in America, we throw away 500 million bottles of shampoo every year. So there are all these small little things that make a difference. And what I want to do is really create an access point for people, make it convenient for them. And yeah, so I had a background in e-commerce and marketing, and I just started building and bringing it together. And yeah, that's kind of how I got going on it.
Awesome, great. It's awesome to hear, you know, kind of how you guys started that company. And that actually builds into my next question is, how did you come up with the idea of starting a company? Like, what was your source of inspiration? So feel free to, you know, take what you want and run with that.
Yeah, so I'm so excited to do this panel because I was actually inspired after my work at one of my co-ops at Northeastern. And when I went to Northeastern, I was a chemistry major. I don't know how I got by. And so in the middle of my 4 years, I was kind of like on the edge of like, like, I don't really know what I want to do. I did one chemistry co-op and I like wasn't that into it. And then I found this other co-op. I actually like created it because this one guy from a food startup came to a chemistry club meeting, and he talked to us, and I was like, can we please make this a co-op, because I want to learn about food science. And that's the first I'd ever heard about food science, and now I'm a food scientist. And so that was really what inspired me. I went on to work at that food company, and they were really keen on making snacks that were free of the top 8 food allergens. And so that really opened my eyes to like, one, how the food industry handles food allergies and labeling and the transparency about that. But then on the other hand, the consumer side, where we would get, mothers coming to us asking, is this safe for my son? Do you have a safe facility? Is there any possible way that there was cross contact? Things like that. And so that's what initially opened my eyes to like this space, and it's not going away. People have more and more dietary restrictions as we find new things about the body. And so once I got to grad school, I continued with like my passion around this. And then I also at the same time was surrounded by so many people that I became friends with that had dietary restrictions. So I like could put a face to these people, probably like 10 or so that live here in Ohio with me, that I could really work towards helping. And so I set out to make the food industry a friendlier place for my people and for all of the other people that are affected, which is a lot.
So I sort of had, maybe that question sort of brings three ideas to mind about kind of how and why I got going. And I'll try and sort of go through them without rambling on too much. The first was, before going back and doing my MBA, I had the privilege of working for a sustainability focused company, that very small startup that grew and sold to Patagonia and was, actually quite a good success. And it really showed me that as a company, you can do well by doing good. And that really was a huge inspiration to me, that you can get out there and you can make a meaningful difference. And you can sort of wake up in the morning and be like, yes, this work is really hard, or yes, there's a lot to do on my plate, but I'm doing good in the world. And that was really important to me, was to, make an impact and to sort of feel like I was contributing. The second part of it was you sort of chew on these ideas a little bit and you realize that, if you have an idea, it's not necessarily always beautifully polished and like this perfect thing. And sometimes it's like, if I don't do this, who is? And almost like taking a bit of responsibility and just kind of jumping into it. And, I did, enough research, if you would, enough like fundamental business planning to say like, this could work. Here's how I map it out. But then at a certain point, you just say, if not me, then who, kind of, and I'm going to go forth and do this. And then I think the final point that was sort of interesting to me, I heard somewhere recently, whenever you start something new and try and like take that big leap into a new space, you're always going to feel like a bit of an imposter, as in like, do I belong here? Or should I be doing this? And look at this other company that's doing it so well, or look at this other thing. And you feel very self-conscious about yourself doing the thing that is you're trying to do, because you feel like you don't belong. And what you have to do is just kind of mute that out as much as you can, and you keep showing up and you keep executing where you can execute. And very quickly, all of a sudden, you now become, an authority in that space. People look to you for, on day one where you felt totally out of place, 6 months down the line, you're at home here in this and you have become somewhat of an expert. No one starts off necessarily an expert in what it is they're doing. I mean, for sure, there are some people that go that route, but like a lot of us just start. So that's kind of, I had enough of a idea and a design and a plan, and then it was just like, let's get after this because I think it's important.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a quote that one of my high school tutors taught me. She says, "Comparison is the thief of happiness," and especially in the cutthroat industry of business, you're always trying to be better than the next person. That sentiment is very true. So hopefully, if you can, quiet that noise, all the power to you. It's very hard to do. Speaking in terms of like, roadblocks and challenges, what were kind of like some of the biggest challenges you experienced while developing your startups? What were some major roadblocks and how did you kind of get through them?
Well, first, what Henry said is so relatable. I think I talk to entrepreneurs and just founders all of the time, and we're always just like, oh, did I do this thing wrong, or should I even keep like going? I hear that all the time, and so I definitely also have that imposter syndrome because nobody is giving you sort of a syllabus on what you're supposed to be doing, or a rubric on what you're supposed to be doing. You kind of are just going at it. And doing your research and trying to remain like stubborn and on track and resilient. So that's one of the bigger roadblocks that I see for me at some stages of this and for other people. So I'm glad Henry brought that up. But specifically for my situation, the food industry is very daunting. There are a lot of very big players in the food industry, and then a lot of tiny startups that never make it big because there's just a huge barrier to entry. But I think that one of the biggest things at the current stage that is a roadblock for me is that I'm still at a point where I am literally going in on weekends to commercial kitchens and hand making my product, which is not sufficient, like not efficient. And also it takes just a lot of my life away as well, where it could be a more smooth powered machine if I found a place to do it for me, which is called like a co-manufacturer. And so that's in the works. But everybody kind of has their like rough days where they're, doing the dirty work and learning all of the challenges, by themselves and with their own hands. And so that's probably my biggest roadblock right now. And again, just to touch on like, just the naysayers can be a roadblock sometimes, people that don't believe in your dream, but you believe in it so much that you just wake up the next day and are like, all right, I'm not listening to that negativity anymore. I'm going to keep going.
I guess I'm just going to keep following up on that because I think it's a really important theme to keep talking about. Yes, there've been like a variety of hurdles that I faced, but I think that there are a couple of challenges that people face out there. One is sort of exposure to other like media and ideas, and like in a lovely like American culture of like, I'm going to start this business and I'm going to crush it tomorrow, and it's all going to be like fantastic. It's going to be like white sandy beaches and so on and so forth. And that's just not the case. Like that just doesn't really that's not reality for sure. Lightning does strike, but if you go into it with that's your model, that you're waiting for lightning to strike, you're going to be very disappointed. And so I think that, that you have to have that sort of reality check that, going on YouTube is not going to make you happy. And so on. Realizing that you only have like 100 followers on Instagram, and you love like 10,000, like it's going to take time. And I think, there's an interesting book. Simon Sinek talks a lot about finite versus infinite mindset, and, why do businesses fail and when do they fail and so on. And really they fail when somebody just gives up, right? When it's just like, I'm done with this effort. Like I'm just exhausted with continuing to try. So I think that it's really important to continue to have a long-term view of what it is you're trying to do. And if you can do that, you can look past the like immediate roadblocks of, hey, this is a problem. One of the things, and we can get into it maybe later on, but when I first launched, I had this plan, and not part of my plan was COVID. And that was really disruptive. That like totally threw out like a big part of what I was going to do out the window. And you're just like, oh, that's really frustrating. And you can either sit there and like wallow about it, or you can just kind of get on with it. And if your mindset is, much more infinite and you're looking further out at a further horizon, then it's just like something that has occurred and you're going to adapt. And I realized that, for me, what COVID presented, for example, was an opportunity just to like refocus on some basic things that I could work on and put myself in a better position where 6 months, 12 months down the line, I could do more. So I would kind of look at roadblocks like that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. This is fantastic information. And I mean, I would consider talk about your startups all day, but unfortunately, I have to move on. And maybe at the end, we'll open up the Q&A for the audience. So around 7:55 or so, we'll be able to, everyone can talk to you guys and answer some questions. But pivoting more so to NUMAC and NUMA Consulting, and we will do a little bit of a pitch towards the end of it. Alyssa and Richa, who are our co-directors, will come on and do a little bit of a spiel about it. But you guys both worked with us for Pneuma Consulting, previously called Pneuma Agency last year. You guys are phenomenal clients, and I want to talk a bit more about the work you did for us and how it went. So first off, what was the extent of the work you did with us? What were some of the projects you assigned to your team?
Yeah, so I'd say first of all, Pneuma came at a great time when I had just launched Bonzo Butter and everything hit the fan, like Henry was saying, like nothing, you cannot prepare for those types of things, including me getting COVID like a week before I was supposed to make the jars of Bonzo Butter. So that wasn't lovely, but I got an email from Pneuma saying that they had chosen me and I was like literally jumping up and down. But basically what I needed last semester was a lot of social media help and some market research help. Like I said, I'm a food scientist. So none of that is my forte, but I've been kind of in charge of it because as an entrepreneur, you wear a lot of hats. And so I have been in charge of the social media, taking pictures, doing all the content, but I'll tell you, it keeps me up at night. I'm always worried that I'm going to ruin the aesthetic of my brand and things like that. And I just think that you should bring on people that know what they're talking about. And so I was super excited to work with a team of some awesome women at Pneuma. And like I said, they helped me with they helped me create some content and then also figure out a marketing direction to go towards.
I sort of had a similar experience where Pneuma came on at a sort of perfect time for me. And one of the things that I was deeply concerned about was, I'd worked in marketing for a fair bit myself, but I had entered into companies in the past that maybe were like level 3 or 4 if we're trying to get to 10, and I was at 0. And there were so many things we could do, and there's so many opportunities to look at this or that. Are we looking at this social media platform versus that social media platform? And what I did with Pneuma was really do some foundational groundwork research about what would resonate with the type of who our audience was and what would resonate with the audience and where they were going for information, because you can invest a tremendous amount of time working on one platform or another and so on, and it might not be the most efficient. And at an early stage, that time is so valuable. So for example, like TikTok is new. That's like a fantastic platform. There are loads of people on it. Does that make sense for Vlogtree today? And those were the things that I wanted to explore. And so Pneuma really did a brilliant job for me looking at those different things, looking at demographics, basically where they were gathering information from and what would help support our brand today, knowing that we weren't going to do all of them. Let's pick the leaders and go from there.
Gotcha. Great. Yeah. I mean, and you guys mentioned, that NUMAC came at a perfect time. I'm so glad to hear that. And of course, that time unfortunately had to be, during the pandemic. And this kind of pivots to my next question is, what was it like working with your team, and how did you guys communicate during this isolation of the pandemic? I mean, obviously, I've never seen either of you in person. So how did you handle your team, communicating with them over through Zoom or Slack, and how did that kind of go?
I'd say, first of all, I'm really thankful for the ability to be able to work with a team, through virtual means. Like not everything was paused during the pandemic, and there's other organizations at Northeastern that I think really thrive with in-person meetings. But I was really happy to hear that we were able to keep our relationship up, and I could send them samples of my product for them to take pictures of and do all of these things, even during the hard time that was the pandemic. But I would say that something that I really valued was just 6 or 7 sets of fresh eyes on my product and my brand as a whole. Something that I really care about is teaching advocacy and awareness about food allergies, intolerances, sensitivities. These are things that, you know, maybe one of your friends or family members has, and you don't really know too much about it, but I'm trying to create a world with less ignorance so that people can, you know, go to school, attend weddings, go on vacation, and feel more included. And so I would say that it was awesome to work with these ladies that were on my team. One thing that I would change is just talking to them more often. I know I was a student at the time, I was a grad student, and they were all students. And so it just got really busy. Nobody's fault, but I think that to be successful, you should just have constant communication. So maybe like a weekly meeting, I would say, if you're looking into being part of a team, I think that that would be a really good thing to have. And then you form and foster like a better relationship with the founder, and you learn more about the brand that way as well.
So, I mean, I think there are some, there's some unique benefits to actually how we're communicating now, where we're able to jump on meetings, you know, late at night, or, you know, you've saved, while I live close by, I live in Newton, you know, I don't really want to jump in the car and drive down to, you know, Northeastern to have a meeting. You know, it's actually, you know, 2 minutes before this meeting, I was like making myself a cup of tea, and now I'm just like on the meeting, and that's fantastic. And so I think there's some huge benefits to working remotely and so on. And with the nature of the work that we were trying to tackle, that worked quite well. I think, you know, we had regular Zoom meetings, and we stayed in touch by email quite a bit. I think that similarly, as we all get more and more used to this kind of virtual space and how we work, there are a lot of great tools out there to make it easier, where, you know, while I had complete confidence that and would see the work was getting done kind of at various juncture points, you know, like, okay, we're having a meeting this week, or we're having a meeting next week, and it would sort of be like a data dump, if you would. There are also lots of ways where you can sort of project manage, so things like Trello and so on, where you can see, like, you know, remotely what's happening. And I think that is a advantage to where we are now, and that people are getting more and more comfortable with it. So I think as we look forward into the future and working with teams and so on, there's a lot of opportunity to be efficient in that way. And also, you know, my work style is, I personally like to work really early in the morning and really late at night, and lunchtime I'm like useless. I just like, I might as well just, you know, I'll try and take my phone calls and things like that, because I'm really just like not in the headspace to do it. But if I have a team member, like, and they like working at like 2 in, that's awesome. Like, go do your thing. And as long as it's like, we can see that things are moving forward, then that's great. And I think that where we are nowadays gives us more flexibility for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this pandemic was really beneficial for people to adapt and really find their working styles that benefited them, and just to see, because that's what it's all about, right? I think we have time for one more question, and then we will turn it over to the NUMAC directors to kind of give their little spiel about NUMAC. So my final question is, you know, to anyone who's interested in starting a company, what would be your biggest piece of advice? You know, it can be marketing related, it can be non-marketing related. What's kind of something that we should all be aware of if we're trying to start a business?
I think my first tidbit of advice for any business is to remain stubborn and resilient and adaptable as well. So yes, you're going to get a lot of obstacles come your way. Sometimes you need to ignore them in order to keep going, and sometimes you need to adapt to them. And so just keeping that in mind, nothing is ever too great to overcome, and things will come up all the time. So I would say you need to get past those naysayers, to get past those roadblocks. And then also more for like the marketing. I think something that I learned from Pneuma is like, no two companies are gonna have success the same way with marketing. Like initially when I had Pneuma start with me in January, I was like, I need my Instagram to be perfect, and I need this, and this, and we need to make TikToks, because that's what I'd seen. I had no just like knowledge. And so it was really helpful to have a team of people guiding me and being like, well, let's look at pricing, and like, let's look at your next steps and things like that. And so I hope to go forward with like that knowledge, but timing is everything as well. Timing and really catering to the specific audience that you want to reach. And tons of research obviously goes into that with your target market. But it just time and time again, like the success I see in my friends that are entrepreneurs or companies in general, they cater to the audience that they're trying to reach. And they do so in a way that is best received by that specific audience. So the research is absolutely necessary.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with those statements. I'll sort of jump in with sort of three quick thoughts. The first, I think stubbornness is essential, and sort of just like total like blinders on, like you're just gonna keep doing this. And you know, most people give up on things just before they make it. And if you could like see the like how close they were when they were just like, oh, the hell with it, and just fail, like they really were that close. And so I think stubbornness and resilience is key. On the marketing side, I think that there's so many different avenues and channels for marketing, so many, and they all do work. But they might not work for you today or at this stage of your company. So for example, like I tried out like referral marketing. Now, referral marketing is a brilliant channel to help grow your business, but not when you're getting going. Like you don't have enough people to help refer, like it just doesn't. And so you have to kind of filter and say, I'm going to try this. Does this make sense for me today? Okay, no, it didn't work. It doesn't mean it's never going to work. I just have to put it aside for now. I'm going to, you know, sort of do an after action report on how I felt about it and what I learned, and we will revisit in the future. So kind of like test, fail quickly, learn from it, and move on. And then the final thing that I would suggest to anyone, this is, you know, startup company or like life and work related, is find some other activity or hobby that you can do. So one of the things I started in like the depth and darkest parts of winter last year, I used to be a rower, and I started training again and like working out quite a bit. And I entered I've entered some races and so on, some like indoor virtual races. And it was really good to be able to step out of, I've just been grinding on this, and today was like a dark day for the business, and I can see progress, or I can put my mind to something else. And that can be anything. It can be just, but you know, to have some other activity that can pull you out, that you can just, even for like half an hour, focus on, can be hugely refreshing. I mean, that can be anything from like, you're super into baking bread. I mean, half the country was last year, right? And like, but that really helps you maintain some stability, because if you've had just a really, you know, kind of frustrating day, it's nice to step away and go do something else. Go bake some bread. I also did some bread baking, and like you're gonna feel good about it before you go to bed, and then you'll have perspective, and you can wake up the next day and start again, as opposed to like sitting and chewing on like this. So I would definitely say anyone that's interested, make sure you have some sort of outlet as well, a productive, creative, you know, outlet is something else you can dive into too.
Thank you guys. Yeah, I think you guys touched upon points that really resonated with me. The first one is that, you know, like marketing and startups in general are like an analogy, I think, is like a jigsaw puzzle of all white pieces. You know, you don't know what is going to be like put in like what spot, but you'll hopefully get to the right spot. Like secondly, I really liked your point about how it's good to find something that is like creative but not in this element, right? Because startups or even anything can be very stressful. So it's good to have another outlet where you can channel that stress, but also, you know, be focused. So really glad to have you guys. I know I learned a lot about marketing, about startups, about how you guys arrived to where you are. So it's very, very happy for me to hear this at our first panel. I will now turn it over to Stephen and Sean, who are our co-directors in training, but they'll do a quick synopsis of Pneuma Consulting.
Yeah, so hi everyone. First off, just wanted to say a quick thank you to Henry and Amy for sharing your experiences. Loved hearing all about your journey and all of the advice, and it's definitely appreciated. So thank you for that. And yeah, with that, hi everyone. My name is Sean. I am one of the co-directors of Numa Agency, Numa Consulting, previously known as Numa Agency, along with Richa, Alyssa, and Steven. And we're really excited to talk to you guys real quick about the program. So next slide. Thank you. So a little bit about what is Pneuma Consulting. So we are a student-led marketing consulting organization working with a variety of different clients in different industries and stages of development. We have multiple teams of students working through the semester on a variety of services that you see up there, such as marketing research, social media, branding, and etc. And now Steven will talk to you guys about how you can get involved.
Yeah, so hopefully you can hear me through the mask. But we basically have two positions that we're kind of hiring for this semester, the project managers or PMs, and then the marketing consultants or the MCs. So project managers are really the ones that are kind of in charge of that student-led team. They're the ones that are usually in the most contact with the clients, asking them like what their needs are, kind of like gaining that information, helping like build that relationship so they can provide the best services to that client. They're usually upperclassmen and had at least one co-op, and they're the ones who delegate all the tasks to the marketing consultants. And the marketing consultants basically do not need any prior experience, really just a passion for wanting to learn and grow in marketing and get some real like practical experience working with a real client. They basically work with the other members of their team, take what the project manager gives them, and kind of throughout the semester work together for this final like deliverable or project, whatever it is that the client's asking for.
Yeah, so on the next slide, there should be the scan for our link tree. If you guys can also click on the link that Rachel sent in the chat, it's under the Numa Consulting student application. And there it will direct you to the Google form where you guys can fill it out. Just so you guys know, the application deadline is this Friday. So if you guys want to be a part of the program, definitely apply soon. Another thing that I would highlight is to join our Slack. So all of our Pneuma Consulting members are Pneuma members as well. So you should join the Slack, and they are also due paying members. You cannot be a part of Pneuma Consulting unless you pay the Pneuma dues. So definitely do that as well. And yeah, we'd like to open the floor for any questions that you guys have, if you guys do.
And you guys can also ask questions to our panelists as well, either Sean, Stephen for NUMAC, or Amy and Henry for their startups as well. I can go again, unless someone else has any questions, because I'm very interested about this and I'd love to learn more. So unless someone has any questions, feel free to, I see Charlie raised her hand. Why don't I'll let Charlie go and then I can clap this.
Hello, nice to meet everybody. So my question is, with marketing consultants, anyone can join. Is that open to anyone?
Sorry, Charlie, can you repeat yourself? You kind of cut out.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
So with marketing consultants, like anyone.
I can't hear the full question, but what I heard before was, can anyone join as a marketing consultant? Is that the question that you were going to ask?
Yeah, any prerequisites?
Oh, any prerequisites? No, you do not need to have any prerequisites to join as a marketing consultant. The marketing consultant position is for anyone that is really interested in just kind of doing a project and like having that kind of real life experience. So definitely apply. The only one that really needs the experience is the project manager position. We do prefer everyone to have kind of one co-op for that if you want to join that, because it's a little bit more of a leadership role and you need to have a little bit more background as well.
Actually, to clarify a little bit about that, we really are open to people of all experiences, like freshmen and sophomore, people without co-ops. What would kind of like help you shine through if you're one of those people, even like a third year without real marketing experience, would just be if we can like see your enthusiasm in your application. So like if you are open and willing to learn and like that reflects in your application, that would be something that we're definitely looking for, no matter what your experience is.
Yes, and I see we have 2 questions. I'll answer the one in the chat real quick. Yes, you can. And Natalia?
Yes, I have a question for Vlogtree and the whole environment and sustainability market. I'm really personally interested in it, but I just wanted to know if like how has your journey been and like the market responding to Vlogtree, and just wanting to know more about it.
Yeah, it's been it's been a fantastic journey so far. I mean, I think that to revisit this, so when I kind of was finishing my MBA and I was starting to play around with things, all of a sudden people like Greta Thunberg became like a household name, and then Brazil caught on fire, and then Australia caught on fire, and then America caught on fire, and then we got COVID, and then we had like all these things. And what a net impact of that is people have really taken a step back and thought, wow, how are we living? And like what are we doing to the world, and so on. And I think there's been a huge amount of heightened awareness for that. And I think there's a big difference between what we thought sustainability was and the perspective of sustainability 30 years ago. If you had said somebody is focused on sustainability, you're like, oh, they live in a Volkswagen camper van, wear Birkenstocks, haven't showered for a week, and live in Colorado probably. And that is a person for sure. And I tick some of those boxes. I have Birkenstocks. Actually, I'm wearing them. But at the same time, like sustainability is also aspirational. And I think that's changed now. Like people see it as an opportunity to it enhances our lives. So with that, and with like new generations coming through that have grown up with these issues, I think there's just a lot more attention being paid to it. And as a result, the reception of what I'm trying to do has been very positive.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
And we have a question in the chat also for Henry. Did you feel like going for your MBA was necessary for your career up to this point? Specifically because this person's thinking about halfway through their bachelor's and they're on the fence about doing a +1 to finish it out.
So first of all, I was hugely excited to do my MBA at Northeastern, and I knew Northeastern had a real focus on entrepreneurship. So there was like I had wanted to do, I've been thinking about some of these things. So that fit very well. And that I can't say enough good things about the Northeastern community and all the opportunities there are at Northeastern. So it is the best place in the world for me. Doing your MBA is not, is not essential or a prerequisite by any means. But what it does do, just like studying anything, is you start to view the world through slightly different lenses. And one of the things that you do when doing your MBA is you read hundreds and hundreds of case studies. So you might be studying, for example, like a module on ethics, and you're going to read a bunch of case studies about ethical problems that various companies face. And then you're going to read do a module on like supply chain, and you're going to read a bunch about companies and how they've handled supply chain logistics. So what you start to do is really familiarize yourself with all these different areas, and then as you're running your business, you'll see something, be like, I've read a case like this, or I've seen a case like this before, and that relates here, and here's how I can think about it differently. And so, yeah, doing an MBA is a brilliant thing, and a brilliant bit of exposure. It's very broad. It's not necessarily deep. So you're going to study things like accounting, supply chain, international business, like all these things. You're not going to go like so deep, and you're not going to become an accountant, but you're going to be able to like do balance sheets and read them and understand them and so on. So it's definitely an awesome thing to do, but it's not a prerequisite to starting a business.
Thanks for that.
If I could chime in, I'd just also say that grad school is so good for connecting with people. Like you don't have to have a certain career. You don't have to come out being an accountant. But the people that you go to grad school with usually want big things or are big dreamers. And so it's really good to network there as well.
Yeah, no, I don't have any experience in that, but definitely agree with that. But also kind of going off of like the connections and whatnot, that's probably another reason why I joined Pneuma Consulting in the beginning 3 semesters ago, I believe it was now. I was a team member first, and then I moved on to be a project manager, actually working with Henry and Vlogtree. And then now I'm going to be the co-director. Yes, definitely. But one of the best things I say is definitely the people that I've met through the program, like the PMs that I worked with, and also the team members are all really great friends of mine. And then also just being able to talk to kind of like Henry as well in our meetings, and just kind of getting those tidbits of wisdom about like careers and whatnot, and having a startup, and like going through all of the hardships and whatnot like that, and going through all of the great things as well. Like, it's a really fun thing to see. So yeah.
Sorry, if I can just jump in, I always want to follow up what Amy said. Again, doing a master's, I think you get three key things. You get the education, which is obviously always hugely valuable. You get a credential, which, depending on what it is you're trying to do, is also hugely valuable. And then you get the networking. And those are 3 different components. And certainly with what I did at Northeastern, the education was outstanding. The credentials outstanding, and the opportunities that have come downstream, working with Northeastern, and working with groups like Pneuma and so on, and meeting people and all that have been phenomenal. So I break it into, that's what you get at grad school. Those 3 components really is maybe a way to think about it.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. So I want to acknowledge the time for our panelists to hop off as well. So it is 8 o'clock. We can stay on for a couple more minutes if anyone has any more questions, but the rest of you guys, if you need to have other meetings or things like that, you're more than welcome to hop off. But we'll hang back, as well as some of the NUMAC directors as well, to answer any questions. And if a panelist like to as well, they'll be here for a couple more minutes as well. But otherwise, have a great rest of your nights, everyone. And we'll see you next week at our meeting on Wednesday, which will be, I believe, in West Village G, where we'll be having a sports marketing panel. Yes, West Village G, room 108.
Yeah, room 108 in West Village G. And we will be having representatives from ASICS and Pneuma. So really exciting panel there. All of our panelists are going to be in person, which is really exciting. So you guys could get to do some live and in-person networking, which is always a great option. Of course, though, you can network right now too. Feel free. Amy and Henry, are you guys okay with everyone like sending in a LinkedIn request, or if anyone asks, could we forward your emails?
100%. Yeah, of course.
Great. And Amy, that's okay? Yeah.
Yep, I'll just put my email in the chat, and I'm also going to put my website if anybody's curious.
Yeah, awesome.
Buy the Bonzo butter.
And then also to Henry and Amy, are you guys okay with us recording this and putting it on our YouTube? I have recorded it, but if you don't want it released, you don't have to release it.
Yeah, go for it. I'm just happy my dog didn't interrupt.
No, that's totally fine.
Great. Thank you.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you.
So if anyone wants to network or chat or ask any more questions, feel free to do so. Yeah, we'll be sitting on the call for a minute.
Have a good night, everyone.
Thanks everyone for coming.
Amy, Henry, thank you so much for coming. It was super great having you guys here to like help us promo NUMAC a little bit because we're finishing up applications and like all of that. Oh, did I freeze?
You did freeze.
You did freeze.
Anyway,
can hear you.
super happy to well see you guys again. But also we are wrapping things up. So super good
Thanks for
timing.
having us.
Yes.
No, thank you so much. It's always just, I can't say enough about the Northeastern community and everything everyone does. So thrilled to be here. I mean, the work I did, it's,